Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video, and today we are here for an F1 2017 discussion video. Now I know the F1 2017 season hasn't finished just yet. We've got the Brazilian Grand Prix actually in just a couple of hours time, and then obviously Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks, but overall most of the F1 2017 sort of season on the whole has sort of now been decided. So today I wanted to do a bit of a discussions video talking about the winners and losers of the F1 2017 season. Now, this video is going to be about the teams. There will probably be another video coming out next weekend talking about which of the drivers, like sort of running down each driver who I think is like the winners and losers of F1 2017. And when I say that, I mean, have they sort of done as well as I expected them to? Have I thought they've done better? Have I thought they've done worse? And sort of other things around sort of the way each team has been so far over the course of this season. Now, as I said, there are a couple of things still that are left to be decided, but I'm going to run from, well, I think I'm sort of going to run top to bottom is probably the easiest way to do it. And the first one is Mercedes, and I think we can all agree with 2 rounds to go, they are easily the winners of, well, it's the winners already in the F1 2017 season in both the Constructors and the drivers' standings. Mercedes once more have been able to do the double, the 4th time in a row. You know, when are Mercedes going to be stopped? That is the real question. But yeah, I think on the whole, Mercedes, there was a little bit of doubt, I'd imagine, with that team coming into the 2017 season. You know, they easily have the best engine on the grid at the moment, and I think really, you know, when the sport sort of moved away from that engine, sort of engine dominance in the performance of the car and more towards, you know, aerodynamics and the chassis and things, I think Mercedes panicked a bit, I'm not going to lie, because realistically they don't probably have the best design team on the grid. I think that's sort of been made clear over the course of this season, and I think, you know, for them to still be able to come out on top definitely proves them overall, you know, even as well as the fact they've been able to win both titles once more, they are definitely the winners of the F1 2017 season. Now, on a bit of a side note, I actually do feel that Ferrari had the quickest car through the first half of the season. I think Ferrari had the best car on the grid. I feel that their race pace was probably a bit better than the Mercedes car, but their qualifying usually was a bit more based on which car I'd expect to be quicker. But I felt, you know, that Ferrari had a slightly quicker car through the first half of the season, and that probably does lead us on quite nicely actually to Ferrari, who I think it's safe to say they're definitely one of the losers from the 2017 season. Now, if you looked up to sort of Britain, Hungary, then, you know, Ferrari were looking very, very much within a shot of winning, well, definitely the Drivers' World title. Obviously, Sebastian Vettel had quite a big lead in that, but the Constructors, it was probably going to be Mercedes anyway. So I think, you know, they sort of focused on everything about making sure that their Drivers' Championship was, you know, meant to be falling into place. And I think, you know, after the summer break, we sort of saw, you know, that dip in form. And obviously we had Belgium, where Sebastian couldn't overtake Lewis on 2 compounds quicker tyres. Italy, you know, that was always going to be a tough Grand Prix for them. Singapore, which I still, you know, I always say, you know, people always like to go on that, you know, Singapore wasn't really where Sebastian lost the world title. It was after the Ferrari power unit failure. Nope, Sebastian, in my opinion, lost that title at Singapore. That just so happened to knock him back even further. You can't go into a race and take out your teammate and then expect people to think that that's not exactly what cost you your world title, in my opinion. Malaysia, obviously, then he had issues potentially caused by some of the issues he had at Singapore, you know, with the team not wanting to try and swap out as few parts as possible. And then obviously Japan, we saw him trying to run on a 5-cylinder engine as well, so that certainly was not what they wanted. And now, you know, it sort of went from they were right on it, you know, looking like they could have won the title this season, and in the matter of about 2 months it has completely turned upside down for Ferrari there. When are they going to win their next Constructors' World title? We shall wait and see. But yeah, I think Ferrari, it's safe to say, probably one of the losers from this season, as well as the fact, you know, it's been made even clearer as, you know, the races go on that Kimi Räikkönen is being more and more obsolete in that Ferrari team. You know, he sort of just drives that second car, and if he ends up in a position ahead of Sebastian, then he sort of just gives it up. So it must be very, very tough on Kimi Räikkönen. Now, moving on down to 3rd place is Red Bull Racing, and I think Red Bull is probably one of the most difficult teams to, you know, sort of predict in terms of whether they're winners or losers. If I said after Britain, certainly one of the losers of the 2017 season. After Britain, though, there has been a bit of a turn of form for Red Bull on the whole. Obviously, we saw Daniel Ricciardo actually get a 5 podium streak, obviously with that win at Baku, nicely in the middle there. As you can see, from Spain, Monaco, Canada, Azerbaijan and Austria, you know, it was looking a bit better for Red Bull at that point. But if you look at Max's side of the garage, what, 7 retirements so far this season? It's been an up and down season, I think, on the whole for Red Bull. Now, overall, I'd say at the position they're in at the moment, I'd probably put them as a winner, to be honest, because in my opinion, it'll be between Mercedes and Red Bull next season overall in the Constructors standings. I will be making sort of a predictions video after the end of the 2017 season, but I'd say currently Red Bull probably have the second quickest car over Ferrari now. You know, Ferrari have just, it seems like they've gone backwards in terms of the development on the whole, and Red Bull have very much seemed to be a win it or bin it kind of, well, I say win it or bin it, it's win it or break down at the moment. If they can get, both cars to the end of both Grand Prix of Brazil and Abu Dhabi, then I reckon they're going to be going into the 2018 season very, very strong. But I think, yeah, Red Bull, on the whole, very, very difficult to call whether they are winners or losers. I think, you know, they're sort of down in at the middle. I think, so far this season, they've only had, 2-3 races where both cars have made it to the end, which is pretty poor, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, hopefully next season, we see a bit of an upform from Red Bull. Now, the next team, 4th in the Constructors, very, very well done to them, is Force India. Now, an interesting fact that I found out a couple of weeks back, Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon could be 4th in the Constructors by themselves. That's sort of how in no man's land Force India have sort of found themselves this season. They've nearly got half the points of Red Bull ahead of them, but, you know, they're still, they found themselves in that comfortable window, and I'm quite a big fan of Force India on the whole. I've always sort of liked them. They used to be the underdogs, and it's been nice to, you know, sort of see them rise their way through the F1 field. And I think 2017 has definitely been another good season for them. Now, I think over the next couple of years, we're probably going to see them in that bit of no man's land, to be honest, unless another team gets it drastically right. Potentially, I could see them fighting with McLaren next season, depending on, obviously, how well that Renault partnership goes. But I think Force India, they're definitely winners from this season, except for the fact, you know, their drivers have crashed into each other a couple of times. Not the perfect way to go about it, I won't lie. And I think, yeah, unfortunately for them, they have had those couple of issues. But if you have a look overall, in the whole, 36 races effectively, you know, that both their drivers have been in, they've only finished outside the top 10 3 times. Now, I don't think they've actually had a single retirement this season either, although there was obviously that little bit of an iffy one at Belgium for Sergio Perez there. But I think on the whole, you know, they did have one retirement, at Baku, obviously, with Sergio Perez as well. I nearly almost forgot about that. But on the whole, Force India, you know, they've obviously got a very strong link now with Mercedes, so I think definitely, once again, I would have to put them as winners of the F1 2017 season. There'll be a lot of money coming in from that 4th place. They've got basically a 100-point gap to Williams behind them. So I think, yeah, Force India sort of are in that bit of a bubble by themselves at the moment. Now, as I just mentioned, 5th place, Williams overall. And I think Williams, once again, a little bit like Red Bull, is probably a bit of a difficult one, you know, sort of predict. Now, I would say Lance Stroll, it's probably a bit deceiving if you just look at the points table and decide on the F1 2017 season, because I would still say Felipe Massa is far better a driver. But on the whole, you know, Lance Stroll, I would say, has been carried by 2 good results this season. I don't think realistically many people can sort of deny that, really. You know, obviously he had that 3rd place at Baku, which was very lucky after Felipe's unfortunate retirement. And then obviously Mexico, a couple of weeks back, he also had quite a lucky result there as well. But Williams, on the whole, I'd probably say once more are winners from the F1 2017 season. You know, they've been able to bring Lance Stroll into that team quite well, and obviously we shall wait and see what drivers they do bring in for the 2018 season. But I think, yeah, Williams, on the whole, I think Felipe Massa's probably done his job there and brought, you know, Lance Stroll, you know, he's made him feel a lot more comfortable overall. And I think Williams, they might be a little bit gutted with 5th. They might be a little bit, you know, disappointed at how far away they are from Force India, but they sort of again find themselves in a bit of a bubble where they're too far back from Force India, but they are too far forward for the likes of Toro Rosso, Renault and Haas, and so on, looking down towards the, you know, the lower end of the standings. So I think, yeah, Williams, I'm going to put as another winner of the F1 2017 season. Next up then, Toro Rosso. And over the last few months, what a mess Toro Rosso has become. They've had, what, 5 drivers now in the car over the course of this season. It's become a bit ridiculous, I'm not going to lie, for Toro Rosso. I don't really get, you know, where they're going with it, you know, what they're trying to do. You can see it's just been a bit, in my opinion, stupid from Toro Rosso on the whole. Now, I think the problem is that we found with Toro Rosso over the last couple of years is where Red Bull, you know, they are now definitely, well, they've won 4 world titles in a row. They've got the 2 drivers in that Red Bull team. They've got 2 young drivers in that car that, you know, I can easily see both of them staying there for quite a while. And that sort of leaves Toro Rosso in a bit of a position where they've got drivers in that car that want to move up into the Red Bull seat, and it's just not happening. So they sort of just have to switch out drivers here and there, you know, try and keep the interest up for drivers, you know, that can't find themselves seats anywhere else. And I think, on the whole, that has probably been really sort of poor, especially the way, in my opinion, that they've handled Danny Kvyat this season. He definitely deserved to at least be in that car to the end of the season. I have no idea what he said about Helmut Marko's wife at an after party at one point or another, but clearly it has really, really annoyed him at one point or another during this season. Now, over the last few rounds, they have had very, very poor reliability. Supposedly, now I did see an interesting article from Toro Rosso earlier today, actually. Supposedly, they think Renault is trying to break their engines intentionally so that, you know, Renault can jump them overall in the standings. You can see 6th, 7th, and 8th are all separated by just 6 points overall in the Constructors standings. I'm sort of having to make this video, you know, if they stayed all in the same positions right by the very end. But I think Toro Rosso, on the whole, the result probably puts them as winners of the F1 2017 season. But realistically, in my eyes, the way they've handled with their drivers, the way the engines of reliability are looking over the last few rounds, and the way I see them moving on into the 2018 season, to be honest, I'm going to have to put them on the fence overall. Now, the next team then, P7 overall, is Renault. And oh wow, I heard so many optimistic things from Renault supporters moving on. Well, I wanted to see Renault do well for my man Jolyon Palmer. But yeah, people were saying, oh, Nico Hülkenberg's going to get a podium this season and he might be able to fight for the world title. Well, clearly with 48 points. On the whole, that hasn't really happened, I think we can all safely agree. But yeah, Renault, once again, a bit of an interesting team on the whole in terms of their, you know, performance over the course of this season. They've sort of been a car that, on the right weekend, can fight for points. Reliability has really, really cost them. We had things like Jolyon at Belgium, where, you know, he was looking really, really consistent. You know, he was in the top 10 all practice sessions all the way through qualifying until the moment the engine broke. Oh, sorry, no, the gearbox broke, and unfortunately that left him a bit further down the order than he would have liked there. And unfortunately, with that Renault struggling down the straights, it made it very, very difficult for him to overtake cars during the Grand Prix. But I think Renault, if they stay in 7th overall, probably going to have to put them as losers from the F1 2017 season. And it's been a bit of an odd season for Renault on the whole. But obviously, we had the really, really good result from Jolyon with that 6th place at Singapore. Well, it seems like yesterday to me, I'm not going to lie. I do miss Jolyon in that car. But yeah, Renault, I'm going to have to put them as a loser of the F1 2017 season. 7th place, sorry, with, you know, a factory team. They really should be, you know, up at least with Williams on the whole. Realistically, they should, you know, be up with Force India, I think, for the 2018 season. But whether that'll happen, we shall wait and see. Then we move down to 8th place, just 1 point behind Renault, moving on into the last few rounds of the season, Haas. Now, we saw in 2016, you know, they sort of came onto the scene, did actually quite well, you know, better than I think on the whole I expected. And, you know, last season I would have put them definitely as winners of the F1 2016 season. Fast forward a year, 2017, not as much been their year, I think it's safe to say. Now, I think that hasn't been the fact Haas has gone downhill, but I think it's just a few of the teams around them have sort of been able to get closer. And unfortunately, you know, obviously 2 rounds to go, they're only 1 point behind Renault and 6 points behind Toro Rosso. If they can get back up into that 6th place, then they're definitely winners, in my opinion, of the 2017 season. But if they stay down in 8th place, probably not the perfect result from them. You know, they would have liked their best result of 6th place came from, I think, Romain Grosjean at Austria there. He did very, very well that weekend. I was there to see it live. Absolutely, you know, brilliant, brilliant circuit. But let's not talk about that too much. But Haas, if they stay in 8th place, losers from the F1 2017 season. If they move up to 6th, then I'm going to put them as winners of the F1 2017 season. Then we move down into the final 2 teams. And I think we can sort of wrap McLaren, Honda and Sauber into, one bundle, and I think we can comprehensively call them both losers in the F1 2017 season. McLaren, Honda have stepped they've stepped 3 steps backwards over the course of this season. Beyond shocking reliability once more, did we really expect any better from that Honda power unit? Now, moving on into 2018, it was looking good. Renault power units, absolutely brilliant. Until they've got about a 33% success rate in the last couple of Grand Prix. It's looking like a bit of a poor gamble from, McLaren, Honda. It does seem, moving on into 2018. So, they've really, they've got half the points of Haas in front of them. It has not been, once more, a season that McLaren, Honda will want to remember. And I think, the same can be said from Sauber. This season, probably, not make or break for Sauber. I think, we can see them, being on the grid for quite a few more seasons to come. But I think, slowly but surely, the gap to the teams ahead of them is sort of, picking up. And if you sort of exclude McLaren, Honda, obviously they're a team, that we expect to be fighting hopefully a lot higher up at some point or another. If you have a look then, obviously excluding them, you've got Sauber on 5 points and next up Haas on 47. So the gap really has opened up to poor Sauber down in last place overall. And obviously they've only really been carried by 2 good results from Pascal Wehrlein of 8th at Spain and then 10th at Austria. On the whole, I really it's going to be interesting to see where Sauber, if they can sort of bring it back over the next couple of years there. But yeah, I think McLaren and Sauber on the whole are going to have to be classified as losers from the F1 2017 season. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to leave your, thoughts, comments about the 2017 season as well down in the comments section below. As I said, I'm going to try and make a drivers, winners and losers thing next week, and then the week after that, after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, I'm probably going to make a drivers and constructors predictions for the F1 2018 season. So as I said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you're new around here and you want to see more content on the channel. We're slowly but surely making our way to 3,100 subscribers. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time for a brand new video.